couple of weeks ago I picked up this cool little Art Deco machine at a local collectible store, and when I looked into it and found out what it actually was, it turns out it was a 1948 vintage wire recorder. I already made one video about when I first got it and how I started to restore it, so since then I've been working on it and bringing it back to life. But it needs a few things still doing to it before it's going to be back to what it originally would have been. Before we do that though, I'll fire it up and you can just see what I mean. So the wire is about the thickness of a human hair, so it's very fiddly to feed on, and it has a tendency to snarl. So I've put some cotton on the end of it, which is something that was recommended to me. You can see the wire there. These reels were recorded back in probably late 40s, early 50s, and so they've never really been listened to for probably at least 60, 70 odd years. So I was pretty excited when I got the thing back and cleaned it all up and checked out to see if it would work, and just like I'm doing now, plugged it in, feed the wire on, plug it into the transformer because it's a US machine, so it works on 110, and switched it on. And immediately I could tell there was a few issues because of the level of hum. But nonetheless, it works. So there you have it, some 70-year-old recordings of some opera. But what we need to do is we need to take a look at this and start to replace a few of the components so that we can get it running perhaps a little bit louder without some of the hum, get the magic eye to run consistently. It initially comes on, then dims down, and see if we can bring it back to its original conditions. So here we go. First of all, I'll unplug it. Let's pull it. Right, that off, and now put it away. You can see there the original labelling for Webster Chicago wire recording, and here we have the wonderful copper steam pump looking chassis and all of the components. So it's a 4-valve unit. Got a rectifier valve and a couple of preamplifier and a couple of amplifiers, and 2 can capacitors. And it's the can capacitors that I probably will look at replacing first. I suspect that in particular the rectifier is the one that's decayed over the last 70 years, and it's probably causing the hum. So there's a few options. Obviously it'd be nice to keep the integrity of the original machine in place, given that it is still actually working after 70 years. You can get replacements made up, and maybe in the longer term that's what to do. But for now I think what I will do is replace it. Some people I've seen actually cut the can open and then take the original capacitors out and repack it so that it looks like the original. But I think what I might do is just mount the new ones underneath and disconnect the old one. which in itself is not an easy task because it's a bit of a rat's nest in here. I have to try and get in there to get access to those. And the interesting thing is the new equivalent replacement is a fraction of the size of the old ones. So here we go. I must point out this weighs a ton as well. Got some big transformers in here, it's a very heavy machine. Okay, that should just about do it. I've pretty much replaced all the capacitors in it now. Certainly the CAN electrolytics have been replaced, and a lot of the old wax paper capacitors have been replaced, and I replaced one of the resistors as well that had gone faulty. So some of these old capacitors were really just wound paper and wax, and you can see some of the wax is starting to ooze out of them. So they certainly were at the end of their 70-year-old life, and it was a bit much to expect that they would still be performing the way they were originally intended. So hopefully that's sorted out some of the issues with the loud hum and the low volume and low audio quality. So in here you can probably see some of the new ones. It's a bit of a shame to have to replace the old components and lose a bit of the integrity of the unit, but I think it's good to have it working, and hopefully that's exactly what it will do. So let's give it the test. Plug it in, and I'll feed on the same reel of opera that we listened to before with all that loud annoying hum, mains hum. Let's see what happens when we turn it on. Give it a moment to warm up. Oh, that sounds pretty good. There's no hum there, so that's a really good sign. Let's see what the volume and the audio quality is like. So it's on listen mode. Off we go. I think it'll be a few seconds before the sound cuts in. We'll see. No sound so far. Hopefully that's not a bad sign. That sounds pretty good to me. The quality is pretty good considering it's 70 years old and probably hasn't seen the light of day for the last 70 years. I'm not sure, but I'm assuming it's recorded off on a record originally. Fascinating. Well, then I'm really happy about that. So let's just rewind it. There we go. So the next thing will be to sit down and go through all 11 reels, so it's about 11 hours worth of recordings, and see what gems we have hidden in these wires. That'll be the subject of another video. Till then, see you.